understand Venus in Cancer, first bear in mind that you're dealing with a harmonious resonance between the fact that Venus represents femininity and Cancer represents femininity. However, one interesting thing about Cancer is that it's cardinal. So it's a cardinal feminine sign, so it's a more forceful, queen-like feminine. So the harmony of femininity with this cardinal spin on it indicates a person who's pretty forceful or strong, but in a feminine way. So, for example, they'll be strong but soft, or expressive but indirect. So it's kind of a complex sort of power that arises from Venus in Cancer, which gives strength but not direct assertion. Another thing that results from the harmony of femininity between planet and sign is an accentuation of all the feminine traits. So, for example, since this is a water sign, I'll bring out this example as one of the most pertinent. There's empathy indicated by Venus in Cancer. Sympathy and empathy. So that means that you feel what other people feel, and this can actually be draining and tiring, and can also cause you to not always be so pragmatic about your own needs or wants because of feeling the needs and wants of other people more intensely. But in any case, empathy is another asset of Venus in Cancer. Beauty is another asset. And these all derive from the basic principle that Venus is femininity, and that's harmonious with Cancer being a feminine sign. The next synergy that I'd like to bring to your attention is that Venus represents sensuality. Cancer represents desires because it belongs to the moon and it's created from the water element. So it represents mind, and mind is the place where we have desires. And desires are the precursors of emotions. So you have the planet representing sensuality, the sign representing desires and emotions. You'll have a person with Venus in Cancer will have a big appetite for some type of sensuality. It'll depend upon the rest of the chart, what exact type of sensuality. It may be for wealth. It may be for pleasure. It may be for career success. But some type of sensual or worldly goal becomes quite prominent to the person. A third synergy that's very important when considering Venus in Cancer is that Venus is a planet of partnerships, marriages. Cancer is a sign for domestic things, family, household. So this is another harmonious synergy, a planet of marriage and a sign of house, home. And hence, the person born with Venus in Cancer is expected to be relationship-oriented or family-oriented. They won't be very maverick. They won't be very interested in solo accomplishments. They'll always keep family relationships important and want to accomplish things in teams and really look for and be reliant on marriage, family, partnership like that. A final thing that I want to bring to your attention about Venus and Cancer is that Venus is the planet of learning, because femininity is receptive. Receptivity means taking things in. Taking things in means getting educated. So that means learning. Cancer is very harmonious with the concept of receptivity or bringing things in, because it's very introversive, private, introspective, takes things in. So you have the planet being a planet of introversive listening and learning, and you have the sign being very conducive to introspection and listening and learning. So the native born with Venus in Cancer tends to be good at listening, and this means good at learning. And it also indicates virtue in a sense that they don't really extrovert their knowledge. They introvert their knowledge. And they're not really interested in learning things for extroversive reasons, but for introversive improvement. So they develop virtues. However, of course, don't forget there's the sensuality and desires synergy also going on. So it's not that they're not sensual people. Venus in Cancer is very sensual. But when it comes to learning and improving, they like to improve themselves. And so they develop virtue. Now, let's look at two people who I always like to use for my examples who happen to have Venus in Cancer. One of them is Mr. Trump. As you can see, he's got Venus in Cancer in the 12th house, and look real closely. It's super, super close to Saturn. And also, this Venus in Cancer is in the context of Mars on the ascendant in Leo. So let's tally up some of these predictions against Trump. He's supposed to be forceful, but in an indirect or soft way. So it's not going to be too terribly soft because he's got Saturn right on top of the Venus. It's in the 12th house, and it's in the context of a Mars Leo dominant chart, and also a Rahu Ketu dominant chart. So it's not really going to be too direct, but if you change the word indirect or soft to elusive, evasive, that's really quite a fit for him. So he's forceful, but where's this power coming from? He's kind of making it up, and it's soft and elusive. Empathetic is another expectation of Venus in Cancer. That's the opposite of Trump. He's not empathetic or sensitive to the perspectives of or needs of others, but that's an important lesson to learn about how you use these interpretations in actual charts. Here's a Venus in Cancer, but it's got Saturn right on top of it, and it's in the context of having Mars right on your ascendant. So even though Venus in Cancer theoretically does produce empathy, you're not going to get an empathetic person in a chart with Mars right on the ascendant and Saturn right on the Venus. Instead, you'll get some version of empathy, which is like an ability to read minds or an ability to deal on the emotional level rather than on the intellectual level. Venus Cancer natives are supposed to be beautiful. Is Donald Trump beautiful? I hate to say it, but he's not really terrible looking, right? And he's actually kind of getting less and less repulsive looking as he gets older. This is interesting with his combinations. And he's pretty interested, at least, in how he looks. Does he have a big appetite for pleasure, wealth, and success? He sure does, that's for sure. Why is that one so much on the money? Because the 12th house is a place for dealing with money, and also the context of his chart is Mars on the ascendant. So Mars is all your appetite and your lust. So this really comes out. Is he relationship-oriented or family-oriented? Actually, he's surprisingly family-oriented, it seems, from everything we can see. Okay, now let's compare this with Angelina Jolie. The context in Angelina Jolie's chart. Here you go. You see Venus is in Cancer, just like Trump. Saturn is also there, but Saturn is at 17 degrees, which is 11 degrees away from Venus, versus Trump's, which was 2 degrees away from Venus. So it looks the same on the screen, but if you actually look at the numbers, this Saturn is much further away from Venus, and it's in the first house. So the context of her chart is Venus in Cancer, whereas Trump, the context of his chart is Mars in Leo. So this should be more indicative of a stock theoretical interpretation of Venus in Cancer, except we do have Saturn giving influence, not as much as Trump's, but we still have Saturn giving influence. Is she forceful or strong, but in an indirect and feminine way? She is. In fact, she's very strong, and it's not that indirect, and that's because her Mars is actually phenomenal and actually pretty influential. See, Trump has a very strong Mars dominating the chart. Angelina Jolie has a very strong Mars supporting the chart. Angelina Jolie is, the context of the chart is Venus in Cancer. The supporting player is Mars in Aries. Trump's case is the context of the chart is Mars and Leo, and one of the other issues in the chart, in fact, a very low prominence issue in the chart, is Venus in Cancer for Trump. So is she forceful and strong, but yet feminine? Yes. Does she have a lot of empathy? Yes, really. She really does. She's very philanthropic. Is she beautiful? She's like one of the most beautiful people in recent history. Does she have a big appetite for pleasure, wealth, success? I'm damn sure. Is she family-oriented, relationship-oriented? You can be damn sure about it. How many kids did she adopt, right? Is she knowledgeable and virtuous? More so than Trump, for sure. Now, what we do in these videos with the planets and the signs is I show you a consistent technique that you can use for any planet and any sign. And the technique is very simple. You look for where the planet symbolizes something that's very, very similar to what the sign symbolizes. And once you find that, you assess whether or not the planet and the sign are harmonious about that thing, or whether they're antithetical about that thing. The dissonant resonance reveals what's complex or difficult for the native. The harmonious resonance, on the other hand, indicates what's easy, what comes natural, what's an inherent strength for the native. What I'm teaching you really is the method of how to do astrological interpretation by going down into the engine of the symbolism and comparing the parts. The actual interpretation that you should give is going to be individualized per the individual chart. So if you have person A with the moon in Scorpio and person B with the moon in Scorpio, it's not going to be exactly the same interpretation. Because person B's moon might have an aspect from something and person A's moon doesn't, etc., 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 etc. But what I'm showing you in the videos is the backbone of what a planet and a sign symbolizes. And once you understand that backbone, you modify it based on the circumstances, the extraneous circumstances that are affecting an individual chart. So I hope you really like this system, not just this one video, but all the videos that we do on the planets and the signs. We'll do them all. And I hope you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss any of those. And I hope to see you around soon. Thank you.